We are going to take the last round. The last round, we are going to combine both the colleagues who are physical as well as those who are on virtual. Okay, starting with here, you will be the first and then you will be the second. Understand? You will be the third. You will be the fourth. So those are four. You want to come again? You will be the fifth, and then we go then to take the equal number on virtual, so that this round we know that this is the last round and all the questions. Kutara.
Thank you, Mr. Mutapo. There's a question from Andisiwe Makinana, Sunday Times. She's saying that she couldn't hear the speaker's comments when she started. However, the question is, did Parliament implement the recommendations of the May 2018 Safety, Health and Environmental Audit Report? Did it implement the recommendations of the report following the March 2021 fire? The next question is from Christian News 24 to the Minister, Honorable Delil. A report over the previous fire by Parliament's Fire and Incident Restoration Team highlighted various problems in regard to fire warning systems, such as the shortage of smoke detectors in the old Assembly building, and various recommendations were made. Have all these recommendations been implemented? And to the Speaker, Nehau in the Western Cape said that heads must roll over the fire. Do you agree, and who do you think should face the music in this regard? And lastly, there are allegations that there were no parliamentary security personnel in the precinct when the fire broke out because they are not scheduled to work on Sundays and public holidays. Will you please confirm this and provide reasons as to why not? And the last one from Andisiwe as well. When is Parliament appointing head of security? It's been almost 5 years since Ms. Holtzman was dismissed. That's all from the online platform.
Please, gentlemen at the back, please, can you please keep it down? We are still in a press conference and your voices are disrupting. Colleagues who are here in the order that I have requested.
SABC. Speaker, if a person has been arrested for this and he was found within the parliamentary precinct, what immediate security measures are you going to implement to tighten security in this institution?
Okay, the second hand, and I'm sure you have listened to other questions from virtual platform, so you don't have to repeat the question that has already been asked. Thank you. The second one.
Tanzania, the Camp Daily Maverick. There were some reports of technical failures of fire managing equipment such as sprinklers within the buildings, as well as a delay in shutting down power once the fire started. Could we get sort of a full list of what kind of technical issues arose during the course of the fire and what kind of impact that had?
The next one.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Mulato. Sorry, I didn't hear the lady there's question. I hope I'm not going to repeat it. But Minister Delil and the Speaker or Chairperson, on the issue of, there have been suggestions already, especially from one party, the EFF, that this fire, this incident presents an opportunity for Parliament to be moved to Pretoria. Has government made an assessment of how much it's going to cost, whether it moves now or maybe in the future? Is it something that is on the pipeline to move Parliament? Has it been costed, or is it practical that this fire Parliament can be abandoned and a move made to Pretoria?
I think we are on the fourth hand, if I'm not wrong. Yeah?
Yeah.
It was you. Yes.
We're just Adrian from Netwerk 24. Will we be able to get footage from the drone?
From there?
From the drone that you guys are using.
From the drainage?
No, the drone.
Oh, from the drones. The minister, I'm sure, will deal with that. She's very knowledgeable about drones. Okay, the last one. Thank you very much. That is the last round. Honorable Minister, Speaker, Presiding Officers.
Let me start. Thank you. But the sound is on. This thing must come over here. Safer. Just on the March 16 fire at Parliament, I'll just give you some dates, what transpired after that. And on the 16th of March, we had the fire. Then we did some emergency work, including the grounding of the lifts, the termination of the electrical power, and shutting down of the air conditioning system to the affected wing and building. So we did some work immediately. Then the final report from the forensic fire team was presented to us only on the 17th of May 2021. And the forensic report found that there was no foul play, and it was the cause of the fire was an electrical fault. Then on the 14th of May 2021, we presented the report to Parliament with all the findings and the recommendations for repairs, and also a timeline for the repairs. We then started with the final estimate and the cost of the repairs after the fire, and that report was concluded by the 30th of May 2021. Then we had to go through a string of approval processes, including the South African Heritage Agency, because they supervise any heritage building. They took about 2 to 3 months. And then it was finally concluding all the approvals we received on the 14th of September 2021. Then on the 8th of October 2021, the Regional Office of Public Works were also instructed by the Heritage Agency that we must appoint a specialist heritage consultant that can do further assessments, which we did. And then finally, on the 29th of November 2021, that is when all the necessary requirements in terms of laws, we have concluded that. And then on the 29th of November, we received as a normal circular from National Treasury that as from the 29th of November, that no tenders should be publicized and advertised over the festive season. For one reason, also that the building construction industry, they closed down until the 15th of January. So the plan was that on the 15th of January, the tender was going to go out. The tender was approved by the National Treasury. And then the fire now happened a few days ago. So our original plan to fix that part of the building, we did fix most of it, but the specification from the Heritage Agency, we had to wait for them to approve. Then now with the second fire, that whole section was destroyed. So we will not go out now for a tender to repair that part of Parliament, because it is being destroyed completely. So that is what I can report on the March 2021 fire. Then there was a request for footage from the drones. We will only be able to provide it to you by Friday, because once the temperatures has lowered in those affected areas, then certainly I will remember that News 24 is asking for footage from there. The issue of Parliament to be moved, this has been ongoing, I think, for the past 10, 15 years. And no final decision was taken as to the move of Parliament to another centre. When I became the minister, I said to Cabinet that to enable the consideration of moving the seat of Parliament to anywhere else in the country, the Constitution says that it must be done through an Act of Parliament. And there's no Act of Parliament as yet. And a request to the Speaker of Parliament so that we can change, so that we can bring a bill to Parliament to decide the move. So at this stage, there are no discussions around the move of Parliament. I think I dealt with all my questions, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very much, Minister Dillon. The matter raised is what additional security measures shall we put in place? That's additional, because it's not as though there are no security measures in place. One of the I don't know how I'll describe this. One of the areas which I have identified personally as a possible loophole. If you come from St. George's, and you walk into Parliament, between that passage between Parliament, the fencing, and the building, the museum, just outside of Parliament. Yes. If you look at that, it can pose a threat. You do have fencing there, what we call, I don't know what this one is called, what we now call balustrades. You do have something like that. But you also have a guardhouse right at the corner, which is not occupied. And it has not been manned for years. Am I right, Honorable Frolik? It has not been. But if you stand there and look across, and you'll see the Touch Hotel. Personally, we don't know how the man or the woman entered the parliamentary precinct, but if you look at that area, yes, you may have your iron kind of sharpened iron gate, but if you look at it, it is quite low. But the other thing which, talking about improvement of security, one of the things which we have to do, and of course it's something which we will discuss beyond this, I think that much as the building now, as in Parliament, is completely gutted by fire, I shudder to imagine what would have happened if there were members in the Assembly. I'm raising this particularly because on a day I was chairing just before Parliament adjourned, the Honorable Mazzoni took the floor on one of the days and said, Madam Speaker, there's smoke in the National Assembly. Then, of course, the table assistants then went and checked, and they came back and reported that somebody must have been smoking and threw a cigarette stub in the courtyard. Now, with what has happened now, right? You can't not pause and go back and digest and look into everything which has been raised with you before. So it's one of those things which now I would be interested to hear from those who went and checked exactly what had happened on that day. Because she said there's smoke in the chamber, there's a smell of something burning. And then they checked, we got a report. And then it intensified. And it ended there. So, for me, I think this is an opportunity to go back even to that. On that day, what may have been happening, of what may have happened. And then, of course, we were talking amongst ourselves as the presiding officers, and we were saying, I've heard members sometimes saying, the police at the gates are very strict, they are very difficult when members want to access their offices and so on. But actually, if you come to think of it, if you go to other parliaments in some countries, you will see that when a vehicle drives into the parliamentary precinct, or not just parliamentary precinct, even in government buildings, right? If you look at how we park our vehicles there, underground, but actually there isn't a proper, what do you call it, Minister Tilly? Scanning of the vehicles. So I would want us to say this provides all of us an opportunity to see which other areas require, other than having the parliamentary security services, the police, what else should the police have access to enhance our security systems in Parliament? What else should the parliamentary security services have? What other there's technology out there beyond cameras? There's technology. The people are using all manner of gadgets to make sure that they secure the environments where they are. So this, painful as it is, should now provide us an opportunity to look at what else we can do. So your question is well placed, that what is it? What else are we going to do? And all of those things, of course, will have to be discussed together with the Department of Public Works so that we can all agree on how we improve our systems. I think that's the only matter now which was left. The other question was about the protection services, and it is a matter which we had talked to earlier on to explain that there isn't such a directive which was issued to the protection services. Of course, the matter of, it's 5 years now since the previous former head of security, since she resigned from Parliament, and that there hasn't been a head of security. It is a matter which we are dealing with. Even before this fire broke out, by the time we went on recess, it is a matter which we were discussing and finding a way of resolving. Thank you.
Okay, Minister?
Yes, I just want to respond to the smoking incident that happened in November of 2021. The moment the smell of smoke in the National Assembly was logged as a complaint to the Facility Management of Public Works, the technical people came out. And as you know, there's a little courtyard outside the National Assembly where people can smoke. So somebody's been smoking there and nipped a cigarette in the bin that was still, there was still fire on the cigarette. That caused some smoke in the bin. And then next to that smoking area is a fume extractor. So that extractor then extracted those fumes coming out of the bin where the person didn't put out his cigarette or her cigarette, and pulled all of that smell into the whole air conditioning system within Parliament. And that is what has happened that day. So I think the recommendation was that either that smoking area be moved where it is more open, where people can smoke. But it's not a safe area from that experience that people don't always put out their cigarettes completely. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. I think we have come to the conclusion of our press conference. Let me thank the presiding officers and the Minister for this briefing. Thank you, colleagues, for logging into the virtual platform and for being here physically. Just cooperate with us, just like the way we brought you in. We are going to assist you also to go back to your stations where you were stationed. As you will have heard that the area, the scene remains a crime scene, but it's also for your protection because it is very dangerous. So we don't want you to be tempted to be diverted to the dangerous areas. It has not been easy to have access to this place. We have escorted you, so I wanted to deal with the question of the lady that is frighteningly easy to access this Parliament. We made it easy because we went outside to fetch you so that you can come in for this press conference, and we are going to be escorting you out again. So there is no issue of frighteningly being frightened by the easiness of access. It is something that we have engineered so that you can be here. So thank you very much. Just cooperate with the colleagues from the Parliamentary Communication Services to escort you back. Thank you very much. The media briefing is adjourned.